Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 2 of Thousand Autumns, and woo! So, I took Whiteboard Coon from last week, and I have conveniently and very neatly and discreetly wrote down all the notes that I had from episode 1 about Mount Zhandu, about Shen Qiao, about Wushi, about Yan Wushi, and then about the top 10, about the 20 years ago with Tao Hongjin, and like all of the details that we were given expository information about, I have compiled into this notebook. So if I get confused during our discussion, I will refer to this, and I'll probably be doing that with whatever I put on Whiteboard Coon from now until episode 16 before we start the novels. So that's gonna be there. That's exciting because last week there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on in that episode. Now, I'm recording this before this comes out on Patreon. Episode 1 comes out on Patreon. So by next week, when I do episode 3, I will probably have some Patreon comments to talk about. And then the weeks follow, YouTube will kind of kick in from there. So if you're watching this only on YouTube and you don't know about my Patreon, I have a Patreon. I show everyone episodes a week earlier than YouTube. So if you want to get in on that, you can go check out my Patreon, check out my tiers. If you don't have money for Patreon, totally get it. In this economy, I understand, but just make sure to please like and subscribe this channel, this video, and leave a comment to help ye old algorithm so other people can learn that I'm talking about this danmei and that we're having a good time. So we're starting episode 2. Now, I am not watching the OP yet because I've been told I can't do that yet. So we are starting at the 2 minutes and 25 second mark. This episode was only like 22 minutes long, 24 minutes long. So I have a feeling by the time you take out the ED, which I can't watch yet either, it's going to be like an 18-minute episode. That's not enough time to do anything, but that's okay. I feel like with this show, 18 to 20 minutes is going to be enough to give us plenty to talk about. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, so I don't have anything else to really talk about before we begin, except that I am so ready to dive in. When I told YouTube that I was starting Thousand Autumns, there were a lot of people really excited. So that has me hyped as well. I'm so ready. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out over to my Patreon, to the philanthropy tier. There are 4 tiers on my Patreon. There's the $1 tier that gets you to watch all of the movies that I watch for Patreon commissions a week earlier than everybody else, and it gives you access to polls, to different posts that I do that are specific only to Patreon. We do a lot of fun little things, especially around this time of the year, over on Patreon, so you can go check that out. And then I have my $5 tier, which are those that just want to see everything a week earlier than everyone else and support me on the channel, which is super appreciative. And then there are 2 other tiers. There's the commission tier, which is super kind of exclusive. There's only 4 spots on it because I only got 4 Fridays in a month to work with. That one is over on the channel, but the philanthropy tier gets all of the perks of the $1 and $5 tiers, and they just give me a couple extra bucks each month because they're amazing people, and I'm super grateful for their support and for their commissions. So thank you to Alex Cornejo, to Be Happy, who is the moderator of this series for this channel, as well as Bisa, Dana, Damage3245, Devorin, Destiny Marie, Daniel, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, El Freya, Lyndon, Liam Posel, as well as James, Murphy, Willie Morris, Sunspots, Shimoyama, and Translucent Men. Thank you all so much for your support and your kindness. I really appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, that's what I got. I'm super excited to dive into this episode and see what we get. But remember, we're starting at 2 minutes and 25 seconds on the dot, and we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to see what Shen Qiao is getting up into now that he's left and Yan Wushi is just stuck making sure that he's okay. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's dive in. This is the type of series I really like, and the type of episode I really like, where it's not just full exposition like episode 1. We get a little bit of character development, especially with Shen Qiao and our new, our pseudo-disciple, little tag-along here. But I really, really like this episode. We got definitely some exposition tying into things, but it wasn't completely that, and I thought that was really good. So we need to get into it. I'm definitely going to be like standing, I'm going to be sitting, I'm going to be doing lots of things. I need to train my dog to not want to catch things until the episode is over, because Huckleberry was being ridiculous this episode. Sometimes it's not like that, but today was one of those days where he was very demanding, and I was like, not now, and things are going down. So, I'm pretty excited. So this episode called The Tainted Jade. Interesting. I don't know why it was called The Tainted Jade. I'm curious about that. I don't know if it's going to come back later on. We find out like what's in the chest or what's to do with that. I'm very curious. But the Tainted Jade could also be referring to Shen Qiao, because Shen Qiao is this very like beautiful, pristine disciple who's a warrior, who's very pure, and so maybe is being reflected as a jade, and being tainted means he's been affected. Do I think that old UI possibly has anything to do with his chi being affected? Yeah, I think so. The fact that he's like one of the last people you saw before you went to face that gang and had your chi thrown off, that seems like it would have some connection there. So I don't know. The fact that he can't remember entirely too just makes you that much more like, come on now. But yeah. So anyway, so we start out this episode. We get a little bit of a recap about the last 20 years or so, and the fact that, you know, he got injured during that battle, and then Kunye took him out, and then oh, Yan Wushi's like, hey, forget them. Join my gang. My gang's the place to be. Don't go back home to them traitors. They ease mud you out of there instantly. UI was basically like, well, he ain't getting any deader, and then just went on that. He's like, no, join my gang instead. Do I think by the end of this series that Shen Qiao is going to join Yan Wushi and his sect? Yeah, I think he will. Do I think that Yan Wushi's sect is going to be the evil gang like he depicts it now? I don't think so. I think he'll change his tune a little bit. This series gives me very much kind of Beauty and the Beast vibes, where Shen Qiao reminds me of Belle, where he's very pure and just wants the best of things. And I feel like Yan Wushi is kind of like the Beast, where he's had something traumatic happen in his past that makes him think this kind of jaded way, and he's trying to like show Shen Qiao that things are just as jaded, so you might as well just commiserate with me. And Shen Qiao's like, no, I'm an optimist, I don't believe that. So I'm curious, does that make our sweet Yu Shengyan into the Candelabra Lumiere? Maybe. We'll see. Or Cogsworth. But yeah, so he went on his way. And we get the start of this. This episode takes place in Funing. I really liked the CGI on the rock for Funing. Was interesting. I thought it was really well done. Nice. So Funing is where this story takes place now. I don't think that was a place mentioned of importance from episode 1. I've got my notes that I'm going through, because there were some names that connected to last episode, and I was like, okay, we need to go back through that. But yeah. So we have Funing. He's still blind. The one thing they didn't really confirm at the end of this episode, and I don't want to know from you all, we'll find out next week, but I'm like, did he get his sight back, or is he still blind? Was it just a brief moment of his sight and that was it? We're going to find out next week, and that's fine. That's okay. But yeah, so we see him walking through the town square, and he runs across this one guy who's very strong, putting all these pounds of sacks of feed on his back. I'm like, my dude. He's like, didn't you have any meals? And he's like, no, I'm freaking poor. Chin Gong is our new guy. We meet old Chin Gong is now joining our crew. He's joining the crew. Gonna put double line under him because he's important. Chin Gong is joining the crew. I like his design. He has like the long hair. He has the tattoo on his shoulder going into his pectoral area. He looks very much like, he looks 90s. He just has like a 90s grunge look to him. That's the only thing I can say from watching like 90s kung fu movies. I was like, he kind of looks like it. But I like Chin Gong's design. I like his character foil for Shen Qiao because it's funny. Chin Gong is he's very naive and kind of more innocent than he wants to let on in the ways of the world. And then you have Shen Qiao, who's a little bit more learned in the ways of the world, but is a little bit more innocent in his character. So they kind of foil off each other really well so far. I like that about them. But yeah, he's like, the moment they just showed him and then he got like all the coin stuff, I'm like, why are we getting to know this man who's just going to be like a one-off extra? He's not a one-off extra. He's joining Shen Qiao on his journey. He's like, all I want are some pancakes with some donkey meat. He's like, that's all I want. I forget that in other cultures people eat horses and or donkeys. I was like, oh yeah, that happens. Mm-hmm. I instantly thought of two things. One, the fact in the US that we don't eat horses or donkeys, there is like a cultural stigma against it. I had students write papers about it for many years, and it's a thing. So it is what it is. I don't know. But the other thing I thought of was Modao Zushi. I was like, oh, poor little apple. If you know, you know, but poor little apple. I was like, oh damn. If this is Modao Zushi, little apple got off real easy. Easier than he probably intended. But yeah, so go watch Modao Zushi for that, or comment down below if you were thinking the same thing I was. I was like, oh man. So yeah, so he comes in there into this temple. I like the fact that like this temple's not big enough for all of us, but there's clearly enough real estate for like 10 more people. They just don't want Shen Qiao there. And Shen Qiao's like, can I just eat my pancake in peace? Can I just eat my little hot pocket, my donkey hot pocket? Can I have it in peace? Is that okay? And he's like, whatever. And so they get into this kerfuffle over what's going on. And Shen Qiao, who has the most Puss in Boots, little sincere eyes, where he's like, please, sir, may I stay here for the night to get shelter from the bitter cold? I'm like, oh damn, how could you say no to Shen Qiao? He's so handsome and beautiful. Like, he's just the sweetest. How could you say no to him? So they end up fighting over the pancakes, and Qin Gong wants the pancakes the most, so he like beats up these guys that end up being from a gang, and we're gonna talk about that gang here in a moment. But Shen Qiao like basically hears the entire thing go down, and then Shen Qiao's like, hey, get out. And he's like, come battle with me again. He's like, oh, you drove them away. He's like, well, yeah. I feel like Shen Qiao in that moment recognized being like, oh, well, Qin Gong has to at least be somewhat competent because there were two of them and only one of him, and he drove them both away, so he has to be at least strong enough to defend himself. And so Shen Qiao's like, okay, well, that's good to know. He's like, I'm going to stay here for some days and collect money for return. And then he figures out that Shen Qiao can't see. And he's like, you give me 3 donkey pancakes and you can stay here. And Shen Qiao's like, deal, I can do that. I just really think it's hilarious if like, because we've had several close-ups of Shen Qiao's hands in this series, especially with the hand fornication fortune telling that's about to happen in the next scene. But there's lots of shots of Shen Qiao's hands. And of course his feet aren't shown because he's wearing shoes. But I just love the concept that he's like, yeah, I'll go make some money. And he's just selling like hand and feet pics. Because he just has perfect hand and feet. Love it. He's like, I can make money. And he just has a little light shining on him. He's just such a beacon of light. I love Shen Qiao. He's the sweetest. Like an absolute doll. He's like, I'm penniless, but I'm desperate in a battle, says Qin Gong. He's like, just get out of here. So we have the next day, this little fortune-telling banner, fortune-telling by touching. I feel like he just found a little piece of cloth banner in the streets that he like just decided to like write on. It's like his little cardboard box. And he has his little table, little stool. It's just so sweet and just innocent. And of course, who shows up? But this bitch. Yan Wushi's like, hey, just wanted to check in on you. How you doing? There's one thing about danmei that I really, really enjoy, and it's the fact that when there is a couple that is meant to be, something that reading MXTX's works I was afraid of is that you want to see more with this couple. You want to see more of their dynamic. You want to see more of them interacting with one another. And so something that I was always afraid of going into MXTX works and in Word of Honor was, oh, well, they're going to get separated and they're not going to see each other for a long period of time. And I get pleasantly surprised when the author's like, no, they're going to see each other. Just hold on. Don't worry. I was like, yeah. So, oh, damn. Yan Wushi, this bitch, this smug bitch that's just like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Like, he is just like, how's that fortune telling going for you? And then they play this Handsy game, which, again, I know for the censors, we can't get too crazy. We can't have anything remotely non-heterosexual in the series for the Chinese government. But I'm like, I'm like, that hand game, come on now. And he's like, look at these delicate wrists. They keep doing a close-up of that ring. I don't know if the ring that Yan Wuxi is wearing is the golden flower ring that's supposed to be like one of the holy objects that controls people. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. But maybe we'll find out. It just looks similar. And then he's like, it is you. And he's like, how many times will you touch me for one tael of silver? Yan Wuxi is being quite flirty. And him like saying like, you know, it's you wanting to touch me, huh? I'm like, sir. He was putting on the moves hardcore. And Shen Qiao's like, I am a delicate flower, sir. He's like, can you designate the part of touching? I'm like, I was like, art, sir. And he's like, excuse me. He's like, no, joking. I'm like, no. Shen Qiao, he's not joking. I was like, I think you need to understand. I don't think Yan Wuxi is joking at all. I think he's quite serious. And he's pushing your buttons to see if you are just as serious. He's like, it's a pity that the chief disciple of the #1 Taoist gang is begging in the street. And someone passes him like a shilling, go get some food. You're too skinny. And he's like, oh. I feel like his little face when he's like, I'm not too skinny. Like, he hasn't eaten in a long time, though. And then he just is kind of like, what do you want, Yan Wuxi? He's like, I'll take my fortune telling somewhere else if that's the case. He's like, you're telling fortunes by touching. He's like, I could do it too. For free. Let me touch it for you. I was like, oh! Woo! Yan Wuxi is just very forward. Very forward. And there's a part of me that if it was anybody else but Shen Qiao, I'd be like, are you getting a little bit too forward with him? But Shen Qiao can take it. Shen Qiao can take it. It's just, I feel a little bad for Shen Qiao because Yan Wuxi is in a position of, Yan Wuxi knows a little bit more than Shen Qiao does about himself because of his memory block. So there is a part of it because Yan Wuxi, I like the way that they set it up because we know Yan Wuxi is a little bit villainous. You all may laugh at a little bit, but he is villainous and he knows more about Shen Qiao than Shen Qiao remembers about himself at this point. And so it does come across like Yan Wuxi is slightly, you know, taking advantage of knowing more and taking advantage of the situation. But the thing that makes it work is that Yan Wuxi doesn't want to hurt Shen Qiao. He wants him just to join his gang. That's all he wants him to do. And so he's trying to like seduce him to do so. And meanwhile, Shen Qiao is trying to figure out about himself what's going on. And he's like, but then there's another part of Yan Wuxi that is trying to get Shen Qiao to remember. He keeps mentioning, he's like, you're this person from the sect. You're this, you're that. He's like, why don't you remember? I genuinely do think that Yan Wuxi wants Shen Qiao to remember and he's trying to help him get those memories back. But he also knows that Shen Qiao has kind of been screwed over. He knows that this UI guy taking the immediate position of promotion the day after he went missing is a little bit suspect. I think that he's like, look, he's like, I want you to get your memories back and you can go back to Mount Zhandu, go right ahead. He's like, but I want you to know that these people are kind of shady and they clearly screwed you over and they might be responsible for what happened to you in some part. And your sect that you are beloved, now that their leader, Chief Fengge is gone, may not be as pristine as you think it is. So if things don't work out when you go back, just know you've got a spot here in my illustrious Huanya gang. You can come back and stay with me and everything will be fine. Like, I think that's really what he's trying to do, but he is so forward and flirty. And Shen Qiao's like, fine, go ahead. And he just immediately goes to the pulse. And Shen Qiao's like, he's feeling my pulse instead of my fortune telling. He wants to feel how much I've recovered. And so it's crazy how right Shen Qiao is in that moment because that's exactly what he's doing. He's like, you recovered a lot. The celerity really works well. Here's the thing. He keeps talking about the celerity, which is the martial arts books. I'm like, are you Tao Hongjin? Are you, sir, Yan Wuxi? We don't know yet. But he says that the celerity is helping him recover. So I don't know. That there are 5 books in the celerity. We know that. 4 of them are held by a sect. Shen Qiao's sect holds one of the books. One of them is secret. I'm like, is the fifth book like within Shen Qiao or on his being or embedded into him somehow, and that's what's helping him recover? I don't know. We'll find out as it goes. I don't know how exactly. They haven't explained how the system works, but that's part of the, we'll find that out. And he's like, oh yeah, I like these, like, wow, you've recovered a lot. This is really going well. And then he immediately like lies and says, you know, you are still really injured. Your core is damaged. He's like, you have many big troubles. And I'm like, he's so over the top with it. I'm like, sir. He's like, you're having a lot of issues. You know, if you just came back, he's like, if you're not sure of your future, you could just join my gang and I'll give you a hand. I just like, he's so dastardly and it's so over the top. I kind of love it where he's like, you know, if things don't work out, you could just come and hang out with me. Like, it's so, his villainous laugh too is just like, he's like, wah ha 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 ha. And Shen Qiao's like, oh my God. It gives me a little Megamind. I love it. Like, Yan Wushi gives me Megamind in impressions. And I'm just like, okay. And he's like, well, thank you, Leader Yan, but I have made up my mind to challenge anything, let alone troubles. He's like, I don't need your help. I'll figure it out. He's like, did you? And then so Yan Wushi's like, look, I didn't want to have to play this card, but I'm about to play this card because you're not joining my gang and I really just want to hang out with you. So did you know that a new chief disciple was appointed on the day after your loss? Which is suspicious. He's like, your peer UI. Now, Yan Wushi knows he's played a card. He knows he's played a card, right? He knows that he's like, I want Shen Qiao to get his memories back, or at least I think he does. And so he's like, this isn't happening fast enough. Shen Qiao is not taking the bait, so I'm just going to throw this card on the table and see what happens. Do I think it is really weird that Mount Zhandu and his sect immediately appointed UI to be the new chief disciple 24 hours after he went missing? Yeah, I think so. Rather than continue a search for him? Yeah, I think so. But that triggered, he's like, my peer UI. So I don't think Shen Qiao had remembered him until that moment. And then Yan Wushi like laughs maniacally and runs away like, wah ha 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 ha. It's like, the world is so big. You don't have to be stubborn. Oh, I love it. I like the connotation of that because it's kind of like he's saying, look, I know you want to go back to your sect. You grew up there. You've got an attachment to it because of Qi Fengge. He's dead. The world's huge. You don't have to stay there. If they don't want you anymore, feel free to come over to the dark side. We've got cookies. But he remembers UI there in that moment in the forest. So I'm curious what that moment was. Did he do something to his chi before he went off to face Kunye? I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. But yeah, so poor Shen Qiao. He's getting part of his memories back. He doesn't know exactly what to do, but he did go get the pancakes. I feel so bad for him because I want him to get his sight back and I want him to get his memories back. But things aren't just going his way. And that's so sad. And then he like sits up against the wall of the restaurant, the tavern, and those guys are like, even Mount Zhandu, the #1 Taoist gang, had a serious event. And they're like, yeah, the chief disciple Shen Qiao was defeated by Beimu's people and fell off a cliff. And nobody knows if he's alive or dead. And I felt really bad in this moment because they compare Shen Qiao to Qi Fengge, saying like, you know, Qi Fengge was powerful enough to defeat Hulugu back then when he was Shen Qiao's age. The fact that Shen Qiao couldn't stand up to the Beimu guy, why, how embarrassing. And I'm like, he could have if his Qi hadn't been messed with. So I feel like it was a setup. I feel like this is all a setup. And that Shen Qiao was set up because he was Fengge's closest disciple. He was set up to fall so somebody else could take his place. I feel so bad for him, though. What a shame for Mount Zhandu. I just feel so bad for Shen Qiao. He's the most innocent being. Like, y'all, let our poor guy go. I feel so bad for him. Definitely getting some Shilian vibes with him. A little bit. I like it. I like it. He's just a lot more optimistic, and I like that a lot, too. Our poor bean. So he goes back, and then Qinggong. Okay, before we get to Qinggong, we have our sweet Yu Shengyan. Shengon is great. I love that he's just the most loyal, like, yes, sir, look at what I've gotten here. And so he goes back and he waits for Yan Wushi to return. He's looking at the two swords. Okay, there's the one from what he thinks is the Beimu gang and then Woe for All. And he's like, oh, master. And he's like, these are the weapons of those. The black scimitar is connected. And he's like, oh, okay, so that's not Woe for All. That's a different sword. And he, like, throws it in front of him. And he's like, you have a poor eye. Even Shen Qiao is better than you. Which is funny because Shen Qiao's blind. So it's a little note there. And it says, the Liu He gang has sided with Beimu. Okay, let's bring that up because that's going to need to be talked about. So with Beimu, which is basically connected to Kunye. They're a sect, but Beimu Kunye is the leader of it. They are now connected to the Liu He gang. Always has to be a beggar gang in every danmei, right? It has to be a beggar gang. So, okay, I don't think the Liu He gang was mentioned last episode, so they are new, but they've sided with Beimu. Beimu was talking about getting allies, so that lines up. Then we have back to the dilapidated little temple. We have Qin Gong comes back saying luck isn't on my side. And he gets mad, but guess who has pancakes? Frickin' Shen Qiao. So, okay. I want to talk about this. I know I said in the reaction, the no homo line, that was meant in jest because there were some actions like whenever Qin Gong was like, I'm going to sleep over here, not next to you. And I'm like, come on now. And then when he gets his fortune told, he just seductively sits in front of Shen Qiao. I was like, danmei, you're fooling nobody. Also fooling nobody is Shen Qiao, who does the fortune telling, but what he actually does is deduction. He's just being Sherlock. He's just making observations that he's come across in this moment. So he tells me he does the fortune telling for him. He says, you're a local. Checks out. You have a stepfather or a stepmother. Now that was, it didn't say both or one or the other. He just said either or. You left home as you had conflicts with your family and started making a living doing casual jobs. He's like, well, how do you know that? And he says, well, you have a local accent. He's like, you have a tough personality. You are unyielding and suspicious. But without any incident at home, you wouldn't stay at a broken temple. Even if you have conflicts with family, your biological parents wouldn't have allowed you to stray outside. Like, those are all just really good observations. Like, Shen Qiao's just really smart, and he makes good observations based on people. Even if he can't see them, he can hear them, and he can gather information about them. I love it. It's great. So, I mean, he proves in that moment that he's like, yeah, I could definitely make some observations and get my money. He's like, what? And so he tells Qin Gong, he's like, you should probably join the army. He's like, if you really want to make some money, he's like, you've got the personality and the physique for it. I mean, seems like it would all add up. And then right before they can go any further, the Liu gang show up to try and get back at Qin Gong. Right? I thought whenever he told him not to stand there and he's like, what's the worst that could happen? I thought that there was going to be like an arrow come through and just like get him in the shoulder. Glad that didn't happen because I like Qin Gong. I think he has a lot of room as a character to be a good foil for Shen Qiao. But yeah, so then they fight him. And when he was like, come at me, bro, they came at him. They just dogpiled him. I was like, oh no, never mind. And Shen Qiao was like, I guess I need to get involved. Because they all turn on him. And I mean, here's the thing. Qin Gong does throw Shen Qiao under the bus. He's like, oh yeah, he's a rich guy. Go get him. I think that as the story will go on, that's like a part of his character that's going to get developed and changed. And I'm excited for that. But yeah, they all go after him, being like, fine, we'll go after this beggar. And I love, my dog was trying to interrupt me. And as you can see now, he's not barking at all or trying to make me throw things. So what do we do? But I just love the ethereal light around Shen Qiao. And as he stands up with the bamboo stick, he starts to get his memories back, his muscle memory, treating the bamboo stick like a sword. It's so good. It's so good. But before we get back to that, the part that my favorite part of the episode is him doing the sword moves with the bamboo stick and getting all that back. That was my favorite part of the episode. But before we get to that, old Xingyan, he's sent to go investigate. He's sent by Yan Wushi to go investigate. I like he just pokes the hole in the paper. Like, collateral damage be damned. So, they're like, a token of goodwill to the TAINTED sect. So, Kunye is trying to curry favor with the TAINTED sect. And the TAINTED sect, from my lovely notes down here, is connected to the TAINTED sect. I thought was connected to Yi Bishan, who's with the Chunyang Temple with Mount Qingjiang. He has one of the books, we think, but I feel like the TAINTED sect is tied to Yi Bishan, but I could be wrong. We're about to find that out. Okay. Is a token of goodwill to the TAINTED sect. It's highly valuable. So he's like, many people will disturb you on the way. So there's some kind of chest. TAINTED, sorry. TAINTED. So he gives them this chest. Who knows what's in it? I'd want the chest opened up to know what I'm dragging along the way that's possibly going to cause me disturbances. He's like, you have to take special care, Yoon. So we have the master of the Liu gang is led by Dao Yanshan is the leader. Okay. I like his design. His design's kind of cool. I like him. I like the green, and he has like the chin strap and everything. And then we have Yoon Fui, who is the vice master. Okay, so then we have Yoon Fui, who is the vice captain of all this. I love her robes, and I love her hat with the veil. Her design is great. Love that for her. And she's like, you'll guard it personally. And she's like, okay. I like that she basically does like a Fury Swipes move. A Pokemon move against the grain. So, yeah, and it says 6 and 6. So she seems kind of tough. Fun times. Looking forward to this. She's like, before it's handed over to Abbot Juyin. Well, I thought Abbot Juyin was connected to Beifong, but I could be wrong. It said that it's supposed to go to the TAINTED sect, so then they say Abbot Juyin, so I may be wrong on that one. It may be that Bishan is instead with Beifong, and Abbot Juyin is with TAINTED. We'll find out. If I get those two confused, it's fine. The show will correct me. Anyone who dares disturb us. Okay. On the way will be punished like this. All right. And so he's like, Kunye, yeah. So he's getting connected with all these people. All these people are all getting connected together. There's some kind of chest afoot. Who knows? Meanwhile, we have Shen Qiao using his bamboo. He's like, who on earth are you? He's like, who indeed? And him fighting him, I loved this scene. It was so good. And when he starts to remember holding the bamboo stick, he views it like a sword. Did Yan Wushi give him the bamboo stick thinking that it would eventually churn on those memories? I don't know. But poor Shen Qiao, I feel sad that he's trying to struggle to remember. And he, like, is thinking of it like his sword. Bless his heart. I just want him to remember. I love this scene, like making it look like a forest. Making it look like a forest. Tao lies in water-like calmness. He is like a stream. And then him practicing his moves. I love it. This whole like control the sword with the chi in 3 layers. Love it. So pretty. Everything about it is just gorgeous. This whole scene. It's my favorite in the episode. Master the spirit from the energy of Mount Kang. It just makes you love Shen Qiao even more watching him because he's so diligent and he's so pure and innocent. The sword and soul are integrated. And cutting the leaf in half, that was a good notice. I didn't notice that the first time. I love when he like puts the sword behind him. Oh, sir, I know Ion Wushi is all about you. It is very clear and easy to see. But yeah, so they all take off, the Liu Gang members. And I like Shen Qiao having a little bit of bite to him. I like that he's like, you're going to get out now or I'm going to poke your eyeballs out. And I was like, ooh! I was like, I want more sassy. I like innocent, sweet Shen Qiao, but I like when he gets a little bit sassy. Yeah. So Qinggong's like, yeah, poke his eyeballs out. And then our poor boy, he just like gets overwhelmed and falls down. Now he started to gain his eyesight back. And then he saw UI and Tan Yuancheng. Yeah. So we cut back to this scene of him practicing in the forest, like where he was having the moment of recollection. He was practicing by himself on the cliff's edge. And then as he's practicing, the memory ends. He does his little sky dancer pose. Love it. But as he's practicing and in his little whirlwind, then we see UI show up. And he's like, oh. And he's like, it's great to see you, master. And that's all we get. Tell me more. Of course we're not going to do that. So, Chuyun Temple. Where Bishan is, maybe. Where Bishan maybe is. So, that's a thing. So, we end up at this end of the episode. I'm going to write down end of ep because I'm going to need to note this in my notebook later. We're at the Chuyun Temple. I don't know if this is where Bishan is going to be. I don't know if Bishan is tied to the Tiantai sect like I thought. We'll find out. But they end up going there. They somehow got taken there after his injuries. I'm glad Qinchong is at least reliable enough. He's like, hey. Okay. So he kind of saw the fuzzy outline Shen Qiao did of Qinggong, but I don't think he saw him completely. And he's like, you've slept for 2 days. Abbot of Chuyun Temple took us in and took us back for treatment. Okay. And the Liu He gang is a local gang around here. Okay, so the Chuyun Temple, the Liu He gang is local there. Okay, that makes sense. That they're tied to the Tiantai sect. That all makes sense. So yeah, maybe Abbot Zhuyin is still connected to Beifong. We'll find out. He's like, you have great martial arts. Why not join the Liu gang together? He's like, why is everybody trying to get me to join different gangs that aren't the Mount Zhandu Temple? Poor Shen Qiao. He's like, I don't want to join any of your gangs. He's like, I just want to go to Mount Zhandu. And he's like, why? I like that Chong's like, why? Why would you want to go there? Or Qinggong. Yeah, he's like, I want to know why you'd want to go there. And he's like, well, I'm trying to remember shit. Some people say it's my origin. I like that there is a part of Shen Qiao. He doesn't say it's like where I belong or it's my home or anything. He's like, some people say it's my origin. So Shen Qiao's like, I just need to go back and find out what happened, what's going on, and then I can make an executive decision of how to move forward. Do I think he's going to end up with Yan Wushi? Well, yes. I think by the end of the series, yes. But he's got to go back and figure all this stuff out first. He's like, just let me do this. He's like, I want to go back and have a look. And he's like, well, you just be my master. So Qinggong's like, just be my master. He's like, take me as your disciple and teach me your ways, and I'll help protect you along the way, and we'll just work together in this. He's like, that way I'll become famous in the world of martial arts, and you can get some help going to back. He's like, when we get to Dong Kang. So Dong Kang was mentioned in this. Where was Dong Kang mentioned? Dong Kang. Okay, when we get to Dong Kang, so their path is we're going to go to Dong Kang, which is where the top fighter in martial arts from last episode, which is Ruyan Kehui, is at Ling Chan Palace, which is in Dong Kong. He's like, once we get there, he's like, I'll go this way. You go to Mount Zhandu, since that's what you want to do. He's like, when we get there, you can go your way, and I'll go to the Liu He gang. And we'll get to a certain point, and then we'll part ways. Yeah. He's like, let's do that. Isn't that a good idea? And Shen Qiao was like, he's like, sounds risky. You don't have to do this. And he's like, look, I'm not getting pancakes any other way, so please accept me as your disciple. And then, of course, Shen Qiao's like, I don't accept disciples, so I can't do that. He's like, I'll teach you some moves that I remember, though. You don't have to take me as a master. It's kind of a fun twist, because usually when we see characters, like I'm thinking of Word of Honor, which was the last danmei that I watched. When you think of Word of Honor, you think of like a disciple as being a kid or being a teenager. And I don't think that Shen Gong is as young as he looks. I feel like he's in his 20s. Maybe he's 18 or 19. But that's still pretty old by disciple standards. And he's like, fine, that's fine. I'll take you as my elder brother. If somebody bullies me again, you have to stand out for me. And he's like, fine. He's like, okay. I like that Shen Gong is like, okay, you can be my older brother, and if somebody bullies me, you protect me. And I'm like, you're telling the blind man that? Love it. But the temple that they're in just happens to be the one where Fu Yi is coming to stay. I like the one person that enters them has like the shaved head and everything, and she just kind of looks their way like, okay. I love her design. She looks great. But she notices somebody watching them, and that's where the damn episode ends. Of course it's where the episode ends. Why are we surprised? So yeah, so we've got some stuff on the move. Kunyei's making some connections, trying to get everybody together. I feel like my theory is at this point that Kunyei is trying to combine the sects together that have the other books. But Shen Qiao happens to have one of the books. So by not having, if Kunyei is trying to collect all 5 books, the 5th book is a mystery of where it's at. If Kunyei is trying to collect all 5 books, then having Shen Qiao be against them is not going to help them in the long run. So I feel like, here's the thing. Shen Qiao is an absolute innocent angel being that was with Qi Fengge. So he would probably not be on board with handing over his book of the celerity to Kunyei for his nefarious purposes. So I feel like Kunyei might have talked with Ui and Tan Yanchun and been like, hey, this is for the betterment of all of us. Let's all get together and combine the books and become famous and just like get power for ourselves. But Shen Qiao, since he's like a little stick in the mud, let's get rid of him, and then he won't be there to stand in our way. And then that's what happened. So that's where we are, where we're at. I can't prove that yet, but that's my theory. And I think it's going to become like Yan Wushi and Shen Qiao versus the world, because the rest of them are going to want to get those books together. That's just my theory so far. But this episode really made me like Shen Qiao so much more. I love him. He's so sweet. And Yan Wushi is like the most cartoonish mustache twirling villain, but he has a thing for Shen Qiao, and I love it. And then Shen Gong is great. I think he's a great little foil to join us on this journey. So yeah. Anyway, I'm super excited for episode 3, but I'm going to wait and see the comments for episode 1 on Patreon and what you all have to say about that first episode. And then we'll go from there. So I hope you enjoyed this reaction discussion. If you want to see next week's episode and you're watching on YouTube, go join my Patreon. It's already up. But in other words, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of 1,000 Autumns. Bye!